Welcome to Flipped Classroom. Our subject today is algebra, and we're looking at the topic of index laws. We're looking at index law number 3, and our learning intention today is we are learning about the third index law. And our success criteria is I am successful when I can explain the third index law. Now let's go back to index laws 1 and 2. Let's simplify a to the power 3 all to the power of 2. Now we know that anything to the power of 2 is multiplied by itself. So I've got a to the power 3 times a to the power 3. I can expand those out, and then I look and there's 6 lots of a's all multiplied together, so I get a to the power of 6. Now this leads us straight into the third index law, which is called the raising powers index law. So if a term with a power itself is raised to another power, then the powers are multiplied together. So using that example before, I've got a to the power of 3 all to the power of 2. We've got a to the power of 3 all to the power of 2. And we can say that that's a to the power of 3 times 2, which is a to the power of 6. So how does this work? Well, we know that a to the power of 3 is a times a times a. And we know that anything squared is multiplied by itself. A to the power of 3 times a to the power of 3 is a times a times a times a times a times a, which is a to the 6. So you can see that we've got two groups of a to the power of 3's. So we can use this general formula. A to the power of m all to the power of n is equal to a to the power of m times n. So let's go through some worked examples. On the left hand side I've got my thinking, and on my right hand side I've got my write and draw, and this is what I write down on the paper so that my teacher knows exactly what I'm thinking and can see my understanding for this question. Looking at this problem, I can see that I can use the third index law and multiply the powers together. So I've got 4 to the power of 3 all to the power of 5, so I can just multiply the 3 and the 5, the two indexes together, and I get 4 to the power of 15. For question B, we can start the same way. I can raise the powers, but this time I'm going to do it for everything that's inside that bracket. So I'm going to multiply that 6 by the index of the 3 and the 6 by the index of the x squared. Now the index of the 3 is actually to the power of 1. Anything by itself with no index is actually really to the power of 1. So I can say that that's 3 to the power of 1 times 6. And x to the power of 2 times 6. And when I simplify that, I get 3 to the power of 6 and x to the power of 12. So let's have a look at questions C and D now, and it's a little bit trickier. Again, we're going to do the same thing as we did before. We're going to use the power that's on the outside of the brackets and multiply everything that's on the inside of the brackets. So we're going to get a to the power of 3 times 2 and b to the power of 5 times 2. And when we simplify that, we get a to the power of 6 and b to the power of 10. Now for the last one, this one's going to take a little bit more working, and this is where showing your steps is really useful. So I'm going to start off by using that third index law, and I'm going to get p to the power of 2 times 4 all times 6 to the power of 2 and p to the power of 3 times 2. So I've used the third index law on both the first and the second brackets. Now, once I simplify that down a bit, I notice that I've got two things that have bases of p. I've got p to the power of 8 and p to the power of 6. And I can use my first index laws to merge those together. Now remember the first index laws, if the bases are the same and we're multiplying, we just add the indices. So we get 8 plus 6, which equals 14. So we get 6 to the power of 2 and p to the power of 14. Now for our reflection, I want you to think, how is this third index law, the raising powers, similar to expanding brackets that we did earlier on with algebra? Remember, like the video and subscribe to our channel for more videos on maths.